Liberty County Commissioners Workshop. I just wonder how many workshops we had this year. Everybody done a count of all. Lord knows how much. About 117. And we're going to be talking about discussion of the ARPA, American Rescue Plan Act, funds from GrantWorks. But let's see, GrantWorks is not here with us yet. They're hung in traffic. I mean, this time, Leon, they're not behind the train. So, yeah, amazing. So anyway, as you all know, part of our allocation from federal government for American Rescue Plan Act was $17,109,931. As you can see on the chart there, GrantWorks fee is about almost $600,000 for their work that they'll be doing on this. Remainder that we have to work with is $16.5 million. I know we have half of that at the bank right now, correct, Dwayne? And here's how this works. We don't want problems with the federal government on how we spend this money. And I know in the past, and Christy, you're here, that we audit ahead of time, or we'll audit at the end of the time.
They'll just do a compliance review for the first half that we've gotten so far.
Yeah.
When we start spending it, and then they'll release the second half after that compliance review is done, and then they'll do it all at the very end.
Okay, all right. So compliance review at first before we get rolling. But now we have to
We'll use
figure.
the second round.
Yeah, okay. So we only have half the money first, we get the other half after we get the first half spent. So what can we use it on? That's the question, by the way. Matthew, that's the way y'all understand it. Angela, okay. What can we use the funds on? And we had some pretty good outlines in the act itself that explains what would be compliant. So, Angela, you want to talk to us about it, or?
I will say upfront that some counties, I want to make this clear because some people think that some of this money can be used with less restrictions. And there are some counties that qualify to use their money with less restrictions. There's a revenue loss calculation that you complete when you get these funds, and we did not qualify for any revenue loss. It doesn't mean we didn't have any revenue loss, but by their calculations, they do it all based on 3 years of prior information off of your financials and the projected growth and average growth. We've had a lot of growth in this county, and so we didn't qualify for that type of use of this money. So we have to stay within the stricter guidelines as to how we can use it. Because you may hear other counties say, well, we spent it on this, or we spent it on that. That doesn't mean we can qualify to spend it on those things.
One thing in our office, we want to make sure that Liberty County stays out of the ditches with this money. We're going down the middle.
Yeah.
Can we split it 4 ways and use it for ditches?
Good try, really good try.
So you're telling me no.
Anyway, what is there in the outline there, Angela, for some of the uses plainly
We have
stated?
that, we have that what we
It's probably up here somewhere. I didn't bring it because the GrantWorks lady that we're paying.
Yeah.
The first time too. So I was really.
We have her presentation, we can look through it.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
what's
she
up here.
probably has it on through
I
there.
know it's available on the TDM website under the American Police Funding tab.
I have it. Just want to take it
It's on page 2 of their breakdown.
Well, Kyle, you want to bump it to the next page? and
You want to go to the next slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
All right, allowable uses, supporting public health expenditures, responding to negative economic impact, premium pay for essential workers. We're not going to use that for that. Okay?
Now, that goes into what they're talking about. It's an issue they're talking about. Essentially back pay, which contradicts state law, and I'm kind of a state employee, de facto state employee, and I'm more concerned about state law than I am federal law, so we're not really gonna go into that.
So just scratch the essential. What do you think?
Yeah,
Yes.
green paper essential workers, scratch that, then the revenue loss, we already said we're gonna scratch that. So now we're down to investments in water, sewer, and broadband infrastructure. And we have talked extensively about the broadband infrastructure simply because that is something that's lacking in the county. You know, after we had the COVID business going on, and the school districts were screaming for all the help they could get, so kids could be, have their education, you know, at home and not in the school itself. We got off with the problem about the kids didn't have a way of even logging in to any kind of internet service. So we started talking about this broadband infrastructure. I know some of the cities, I know Dayton is doing a high-speed internet in the city. It's not in the outside of the city, it's not in the unincorporated areas. You know, there is other services, AT&T, I think Xfinity, or some other ones that are still around, but we're looking at outside of any city. In other words, Bezetta, Devers, Hardin, Raywood, yeah.
Romare,
Boston, Ames, yeah.
Kennefic.
Romare.
I'll tell you all this. Greater Dayton area right now, include Kennebec, Little Hills, AT&T and Xfinity is wide open. They're like, as we speak today.
I live between Ames and Raywood, and I absolutely have no providers at all out there.
Yep.
Besides running off the rice tower, running off of stuff out there, we know how that works.
Carrier pigeon.
Yeah, carrier pigeon.
Yeah. Anyway, that was what we were looking at, was the internet part, broadband infrastructure. The investments in water and sewer. You know, that, the water, I know, Glenn, we talked about that with some of the cities that have inferior water supply systems that we've had big issues with. Dayton Lake Estates is one of them, yeah.
That's you had the opportunity to review this.
Yeah, a little, and I've sat in on some other meetings too, where got a little bit more in the nitty gritty, but don't go too far afield, I won't be able to tell you.
If you don't mind, you're Wayne, y'all define for me responding to negative economic impact. This is the first I've seen that.
So that is, my understanding is that's about local governments doing short-term loans for those who are, their businesses were negatively affected by the coronavirus.
That's something I think we ought
Give me your version of it, Dwayne.
I mean, you start getting in a lot of gray areas. I mean, you gotta do means testings and things like that, which, you know, might look fine to us as far as the means testing, but you get somebody in Washington DC and office for doing that, and they might say that doesn't meet the means test, and then we're on the hook to reimburse it. Yeah, one thing I'd recommend,
Scratch it.
yeah, I think we're to make it just as clean, I mean, where there's no gray area. And spending this money because, you know, they fund to us and we spend the money and it doesn't meet their standards, and guess who's liable? It's us.
I agree. There are a lot of rules on how to qualify applicants for that. And good rules that you would expect to have to make sure that, you know, a person's minority status or any status.
I asked the question because this is the first I've seen that.
Oh, okay.
Discussed it just a little bit.
From what
This
we
is actually
have,
the first I've seen it.
a lot of the larger counties, had to go out and hire temporary staff the first round of CRF funding. And I feel like even going to conferences and talking to a lot of the other counties, that was, it's more geared for people that have much higher staff and much higher, they really just had to go out and hire temporaries and get people in there. Now, we do have grant works, but I don't think that we're gonna go that direction. I don't see any counties our size that I know of that are going through that, because like they said, you have to vet all these people, they have to apply, you have to have strict guidelines and regulations. And I believe what GrantWorks was gonna come do, she was supposed to come and present to you some of the areas that have been talked about. Anyway, some of the areas that they have talked about, things that we would qualify for, like broadband. There are some other ones we've asked them to look into because we want some clarification on them. And we're still waiting on some of that. Judging from the way the CRF money went out, the first round, this thing is a work in progress. It is probably changing often. They're probably adding things to it often. The most recent, I think FEQ probably came out in July. I'm not sure if there was one since then. So we have until 2020, we have to decide what we're gonna do with the money by 2024. We have till 2026 to actually spend the money.
Good.
And their suggestions at this point, we're not even to like budget an amount. They were just look at your broad projects, see which one you think you might want to fall into. They said most of the counties that they're working with are in the same position we are. We have this money and we want to make sure we spend it properly and want to know all of the uses that we can use it for before we just jump off into some plans.
So you're, what you're indicating, we have up to 2026 to spend money. Okay, so what you're indicating also is that if we decide to go full broadband, okay, we need to get our pack on right quick.
Sure, well, yes, because they've also allowed for the pre-planning of that and all the stuff that involves. But we don't have to put it all towards one thing. You know, we can spend it in different areas also. It doesn't have to be all to one place. Because we know even here, we're gonna have we already have some internal county expenses that are coming up that have to do with COVID and just our response to that. So that's also a consideration of, you know, what the county needs funded for itself. But I think they were gonna come and just give you some outlines and guidelines of what other people are spending it on, and if you have.
Yeah, we're not doing a decision making today.
No, I don't know if you have any specific questions of things you could spend it on, but I'm sure that we would just get them to them and let them evaluate them and see if those are possible things.
We had a conference not too long ago at Artesian Lakes, and one of our speakers was Senator Robert Nichols. Robert Nichols just sponsored a bill that has to do with rural broadband.
Yes.
They're setting up a commission that's going to set up standards. They have to make sure that all the vendors that we hire to put in this broadband are, you know, they're meeting certain levels and everything. But my understanding, there was going to be some funding available for those initiatives as well. And I don't know what the status is on that, but I think that any discussion of broadband should include, you know, that area as well, because I think there's other funding, and I think there's also some directives on what we can or how we should do it coming out of Austin right now. So
Let's
just to
fresh.
let you know,
This is
yeah.
federal, but.
It's federal money, yeah.
Yes.
Right.
Have anything to the state.
Well, here's
Broadband's like, the cost of broadband is like, from my understanding, it may from $10,000 to $20,000 a mile. Just Google told me.
but there's various levels, of transmission that they're supposed to, you know, there's a lot of technical stuff to it, is my understanding, and that the state is putting together this commission that's going to dictate the standards that we have to meet in order to install it. And I guess what I'm saying is be careful, because when you love for AT&T to come in and sell us something low level, and then, you know, the state comes in, and then we have to spend more money to
Is the
make
state
it.
gonna dictate what we do with federal money?
No,
No, they're gonna dictate how the broadband is supposed to work in rural areas. There's a commission that's gonna set standards that we have to meet in implementing broadband in rural areas. And that's why I'm saying we have to be careful to make sure that we're using those standards in anything we
I
buy.
think some of that will go back to GrantWorks, which is why we hired them.
Right.
So they'll have to do that all that.
at 20,000 a mile, what does that calculate to roughly?
20.
Let me pull up my phone.
Yeah. I mean, I already know what David's expended so far, just, you know, for their day text internet service in town. Aren't they about 9 million? Leon? Yeah.
That'd be 800 miles.
Huh?
That'd be 800 miles at the high number.
800 miles for the entire county?
Yeah,
That'd be
and 20,000.
$16 million, 800 miles.
Oh, 800 miles.
That's at the high number, that's like I say, that's what you're good.
Yeah, that could be 2,000.
It could be.
We have a few local contractors, in fact, I think Randy Meek is hard and heavy in the Dayton area doing that
Yeah.
work over there, that would have more numbers to go by.
Well, the senator did say there would be additional funding and they're securing additional funds, so I've even heard rumblings, and I haven't looked at it, that the other federal bill that they're fighting over right now, the infrastructure bill, could have broadband funding in it as well, so I think there's gonna be some other options also. I'm just throwing that out there because I've been sitting and hearing a lot about rural broadband lately, and it's not, this isn't our only option, and this isn't the only thing. I mean, we need to make sure we're really doing it right, because this is a big deal.
Angela, what was the other option you had?
Everybody was at home, there was school issues, school. A lot of people come to the city hall for internet access, children to do their schoolwork. So the question came up, and it's a hot topic for our city. It's a lot of communication, a lot of buzz around internet, high-speed internet, as it is with all of the residential areas, that don't have it. So I kind of took the lead on looking into what it would take to do a grassroots project for the city of Ames, and then just to kind of see what was going on around the county regarding those types of projects. So we all hear what happens with Mont Bellevue, they put in a project, Dayton is putting in a project. There's some high-speed spots, I think, here in the city of Liberty. And was just kind of inquiring with what was out there and what was available for Ames. So that's whenever we found out that there was 17 million that was awarded to the county. And broadband may have fallen into that slot. So there's a lot of opportunity out there for Ames, and there's also opportunity that comes to the county, but we're just kind of exploring what's available, what's out there, just kind of make sure that the request isn't going mute upon the citizens.
So your biggest focus is going to be on broadband, correct?
It's broadband. I mean, it's a hot topic right now. It's broadband. Yes.
That's what we have to aim toward. So.
But y'all also had a lot of issues with your water.
Yes.
Out there.
We do have water. It's a private entity. What you talking about, flooding, or are you talking
No,
about?
I'm talking about the city water.
City water.
From the private,
Yes.
I don't think this includes flood waters.
No.
But it does include.
Wish it did, but they wouldn't make a drop in the bucket.
But this does address water and sewage and broadband that I don't even know how we Angela, do we help cities? Is this just for rural areas? Is this for?
Cities got their own money.
Yeah, I was gonna ask a question on that too. They got 297,000, so what are y'all planning to do with that?
What was it, Krista?
They got a little over 297,000 for the city of Ames. Do you know what y'all plan to do with that funding?
So we haven't actually put a finger on it. I mean, there's several needs. In speaking with Magellan, which is like an internet installer, they do grassroots. They start with the feasibility and then they go up with it. They were the ones that brought to our attention that what came down to the county level was also made available to the residents of the county.
Okay, so in funding though, you guys have to use your funding first that you were given through the American Relief funding. And then if it wasn't enough for your project, then you can go to the county, and you have to spend your funding first before you can come to the county level.
What's their timeline, Krista?
And, I'm not sure what their timeline is because they don't go through the Secretary of State like the county does through this funding. The city actually has to apply through TDM and go through their compliance review and get the funding through there. I do know that Ames has applied for that funding. I've worked with Jennifer at the city and Eric Wright with TM. So, but I haven't been told what they're gonna do with that funding yet.
Would you know what your timeline is?
No, we don't have the timeline yet, so.
And I think this is where a lot of counties, municipalities, cities, I think we're all in the same boat. We're like, okay, we all got some money, what do we do with it? Do we, cause I know we were told, you know, some of the conferences, you know, broadband seems to be a way a lot of people are talking, but they said,
Church.
I'm sure,
Yeah,
I'm sure.
once at
But
that
it's
time,
about-
Ames,
That was probably my next question,
yeah.
right?
So I don't know how we work together with everyone, but I think that that's where we really need our third party to come in and start talking about these things, because I know a lot of other counties and cities are doing the same. And they're just kind of waiting and saying, okay, well, what big project are we gonna take on? And like we all know, every municipality and city, they're all, if they apply for it, they all probably receive some funding. So we don't want to step over everyone else that's already trying to plan for their spending as well. But I'm sure they're looking to us to see what we're gonna do.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's why we got the conversation. I mean, it's not burning a hole in our pocket yet, okay? Kristen?
I know we have 11 cities in the county that were funded through this funding.
Okay,
On top of what the county got, there's 11 cities, then several of them got over $1 million.
what about the public health expenditures? You know anything about that, Kristen, right offhand?
What about? I can't see the screen, so just.
Well, come on, take a look.
I think it's the next slide if you want to go down, Jay. I think that's.
I know we're visiting with Chief Kidd, hospitals, indigent healthcare, nursing homes. Several of them fall under the public health expenditures under that talking last week with him.
Okay, eligible uses, COVID-19 mitigation prevention, public health and safety staff, expenses to improve the design and execution of health and safety programs, behavioral health care. Well, that's good health for us. Payroll expenses, disparities in public health outcomes. Okay. You must show a tieback to the COVID-19 public health crisis or a mitigation or a future event. Lord knows we don't need a future event, so.
I know, the girls, the hospital girls, they were at the conference too, they can talk to you about Chief Kidd and what his conversation, he had a big, huge conversation in general session discussing this funding, the uses of it and stuff, talking to the medical staff, you know.
Would y'all like to come up and enlighten us a little bit what you learned? Don't be shy. I know you're not.
I'm running out on the CEO every
Yes,
day.
ma'am. It's-
So yes, we did attend the Cetra conference last week. Chief Kidd did have a lot of good insight into us. We talked to a lot of networking with other counties around there, and their hospitals, their public health, their nursing homes, whatever, all of them, they've already received funding for this. One neighboring county of ours told me, I went to Commissioner's Court, stated my case, and in 2 weeks I had $9 million.
How much larger county than us, I believe, right?
Montgomery, yeah,
Yeah, I forgot how many meetings they got.
right. They did, well, they got about 117 million total for their county, yes, they did get a lot more, but, you know, just the tenets of that would be great for healthcare in the county as well, for the nursing homes, for the indigent care program, everyone, we're all hurting. This has been a big financial hit to all of us. You and I have already had a conversation, Judge Knight, about this. And it's just, we're just trying to recover right now and all the expenditures that we have for this. And I'm sure that it's been burdensome to everybody else that's tried, in the county to get through this big COVID crisis that we just went through. And we've done a great job. We've struggled just like everybody else, and we're glad to finally get some breathing room again. But I would like us to be considered, all of the healthcare agencies within the county to be considered for some of this funding. I agree that, the internet is important for the students and the remoteness of some of the areas out here, but I think that we need to be considered in that as well, not just the hospital, but all healthcare providers in the county.
Sure. And that's just it, but we will consider, but at the other side of this, get Grant Works here to help us to consider it, because we want to do this correctly.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Judge, can I?
Yeah, come on up, Dave.
Under indigent healthcare.
Yeah.
Since we were mentioned.
Well, there it is, yeah, it's big letters.
I can go, I'll send you an email like real quick before this, I'll give it to you. It's not charges that we've already incurred, so just want y'all to take in consideration that these charges continue. For indigent healthcare, of course, we've been, paying COVID diagnosis codes all through the whole COVID process. And the beginning, what was happening was under the Medicaid fee schedule through the state, a lot of the COVID diagnosis CPT codes were not payable. Because the providers were actually, they were able to get reimbursed by the state directly.
Yeah.
So now that the county is being allocated the money, those codes are freed up now, and we're actually able to pay those codes again. So we have been paying those. And as the bills come in, we pay all of our providers whatever the Medicaid fee schedule tells us to pay, and they are being paid. What we'd like to do from the COVID funding or reimbursement is reimburse the county funds for what we've already paid out. So we're actually paying ourselves back. And that's what we, need to do as far as paying ourselves back for what we've already incurred.
So right now, 16,000 roughly is what you incurred.
As of now, we have charges coming in consistently. We have now that we are actually going to have to start providing the COVID test for all of our inmate population.
COVID test?
Yes, those are not free anymore. I don't think Krista can get those anymore.
What is the cost to the county for a test?
I have one bill here from Southern Health Partners of 1 month, and it was close to $5,000.
You know how many,
Yes, it's pages and pages of prisoners.
okay, what do
In
you
1
know,
month.
this penny,
Yes.
what, just one joke, for
On this invoice, they're about $55 a piece. The issue is though, and when they're incarcerated, you have to test them, get the positive result, then you have to treat them, which normally if they go in and out, that's our bill also. But then you have to retest and retest. So, you can move the population around where they're not in quarantine. So we test a little bit more in the jail because of that situation. We can't, we have
And
to.
a positive test would result in confinement
Yes.
and
Yes.
isolation or
Yes.
which is incurring more
Yes.
cost to the county.
Yes, sir. And that was, just 1 month. The problem is we can never project in medical. I can't throw a number out there and say, we need this much allocated. We just never know what that would be. Like for the month of August, we requested $5,000 just in tests. That wasn't any medical bills that we incurred as far as the patient, the inmates going out, staying in the hospital, seeing other providers, getting their medication, anything else they would need. So I just asked y'all to take in consideration with that fund that you block off some of that funding to make sure that we are paying ourselves back, but we are putting out for our inmates and our indigent population. And, you know, as soon as we pay them, we have been tracking them, we have them to turn in. That way we can get that reimbursement back. So it's, you know, you kind of have to judge how much we would need. But it's kind of like with my budget, I have, just because I get it, don't mean I can spend it. I have to just let it sit there and see what to do with it as we go. Adjust it.
Okay, that's a good consideration.
But at least we do get to pay ourselves back.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, we do spend it, get it back, so that's a good thing for the county.
Thank you, Ms. Penny.
Thank you.
Okay. So we have, Cal, you want to bump down the next one just to look at it? Public health projects. Let's see. Public health and safety staff, enforcement of public health orders, public communication efforts.
That's what it says about public communication.
Yeah,
Public health and safety.
but that won't work, Krista, under this one, correct?
And talking to Chief Kidd last week, it's, radios and towers are not an option for this funding.
Well, should we?
We'll double check.
Yeah,
That would be a nice, yeah.
well, I mean, everybody that's first responder I know is in bad shape on radio communication.
Yeah.
I think Chief and about everything y'all have at the end of his life.
Yes, sir.
That's what I thought.
Vast majority of it.
Yeah. Okay. Go to the next one, yeah. Behavioral health care, mental health treatment. There you go, Matthew, I like that one. Substance misuse treatment. Well, okay, and other behavioral health services, hotlines across interventions. That might work a little bit there in dispatch. Okay. Services or outreach to promote access to health and social services. Payroll expenses, fund for covered full payroll and covered benefits costs for employees or operation units or divisions primarily dedicated to COVID-19 response.
Now, I know that we can't just turn back around and pay people that were off during the time, but you know, like at my barn during COVID, we did a split shift. The county continued to pay these hands while they were basically off.
Mhm.
Is there any way that the county can recoup some of their money on this? You know, I believe every department sent people home to keep from infecting the entire staff.
I don't think so, because I remember kind of having that question come to mind when we were looking at this the first time, but I think that's a great Grant Works question.
Yes.
Yeah,
I mean, you know, if there's any way to capture that, that's a great idea.
Well, it's taxpayer money that we have spent during this COVID.
okay. Negative economic impact, I don't think it's assistance to unemployed workers. Well, the larger counties can do that because they got a massive injection of funds. And affected households. Assistance to businesses, rebuilding public sector capacity. Exacerbations of pre-existing disparities. Okay, still got to show a time back to public health crisis.
And look at the quoted reasonably proportional.
Yeah, the negative impact, yeah. Okay. Caitlin, is that you?
Yes.
Well, come on up and visit with us. How you doing?
Doing good. I'm so sorry for the delay. Where would you like me to be at?
We've been kind of looking through your slide and discussing. You didn't get it.
We actually have some booklets for y'all.
For those of y'all that are curious, Caitlin's with Grant Works.
Yes.
And so we've been discussing quite a few items on here. The other side of it is we're just speculating right now. So we're looking for direction for you.
This booklet does contain the PowerPoint as well, so y'all can walk this up as much as you want. It also does contain some other information, such as NOC documentation, expenditure codes. And I believe there's a couple of other things as well.
Mr. Trey, come up, get you one of these booklets and go through it with us. And anybody from the hospital district, want to raise your hand? Okay, yeah, get it. And Penny, raise your hand. Yeah. Christie, you need more? You got it memorized. Okay, all right. You want to start from the first? I mean, we got time.
Yeah, I can see this was up till 4 o'clock, so.
All right.
Let's see where we are.
I think we're about halfway through it.
Okay.
Tell you what, Cal, he's back to that first slide where
Yes,
we're
sir.
talking about broadband or high-speed internet.
That one right there?
Yeah.
All right.
Did y'all have any particular questions?
Yeah, Mr. Trahan is here and from Ames. He was curious about the broadband infrastructure part.
Okay.
Because they did receive a little bit of funding for Ames, but then again, it's not near enough to cover what they wanted.
Right.
And would ours be able to maybe tie into theirs? Should we go that direction?
You are allowed to do that, yes, that's not a problem. You can, either ask them to submit, what they plan on doing, how much it's gonna cost, kind of like a work plan. And with that work plan, it'll be how much, like milestones to get kind of like reimbursed for the cost, or you can just submit it on their behalf. Either way works fine. You can say, oh, we're only gonna assist you with 500,000 or however much, or we'll say we'll cover up to 25% of all the costs. Either way is perfectly fine. There's a lot of leeway with that. So, you are allowed to, assist other communities within the county with whatever projects are allowed through ARPA. So
They say communities, are these incorporated cities or just settlements?
either one,
Either
both
one.
of them are allowed.
That's what I like to hear. Okay.
That answers a lot of questions.
Well, the incorporated cities do have funding mechanism of their own, so that was the other side of it, but still,
Well, we
trying to
have-
be fair.
We have a lot of incorporated cities in Liberty County that could use assistance and also water and sewage.
Mhm.
Yep, and y'all are able to assist them with water, sewer, broadband, any of that. You are able to assist them with that. For instance, Grimes County, is in discussion with helping one of their town, or even, not even the town, but the town has a private water company. They're assisting the private water company with getting their updates to their water system. So you are also allowed to do that if that is something y'all are interested in.
Grimes County, Greg, you've been there.
Yeah.
Depends on what type of public communications is, so.
Yeah, why don't y'all repeat that question again, or Angela, if you would.
I just wanted her to, I just asked if she wanted like other clarification of public communication based on like Krista said, that it's that. So I just wanted to see what your interpretation was.
Like towers for
I actually-
communications and emergency radios, comm stations.
Yes,
for
actually,
emergency.
multiple communities that I'm personally working with, for instance, Rusk County towards northeast Texas is interested in doing a lot of radio towers. We do have a couple of the counties in the town as well that are interested in doing, the radio systems as well.
And it would fall underneath these guidelines.
For the public communications, I believe it's underneath, public health expenditures, if I'm remembering, yes, underneath the public health projects, that was where it would be classified under. Now, once you start tying into the broadband, for instance, Russ County wants to do, connect their radio tower by broadband, because they don't have that infrastructure, that would be classified as a separate project, so that broadband in particular would fall underneath the investments in water, sewer, and broadband. So the radio towers specifically fall under public health expenditures as a public communication effort. So,
Let me ask you a question, just off the moment. Let's say we decide we're gonna broadband, okay? And I'm just throwing a number out there.
Okay.
Throughout the county, and we're looking at 12 million.
Okay.
All right, and we have a remaining 5 left. We could use that on other projects,
absolutely.
okay?
You can use up to the cent, whatever you can find to use it for, and it is allowable through the guidelines set here, absolutely, you can use 100% of it.
So we can split this up. We don't have to spend it all on one.
Correct.
That's why we wanna throw all this out there and let you have all these ideas of the things that it can be spent on. Because there's no limit,
So we
only
can
thing
use
limiting you is the money.
$1.5 million for towers and radios,
Right.
so much for healthcare, so much for broadband.
Just be keeping it, you're getting half of it, you have half of it in the bank now. And you're not gonna get the other half until you're.
Next year, I think it's around July, I believe. I'm not quite sure on that date, but I know it's next year, so you'll get the last half next year.
They don't want to ditch, which is to get that laid in the ground between now and next year. Anyway, okay,
We just have to commit the funds by 24, and
Correct.
then finish spending them by 26.
Correct.
some of the ladies from the hospital were here, and they had questions about
Okay.
assisting in funding with them, so, yeah, yes, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Judy Griffin, I'm the CEO of Everton Hospital. So
Come on up this way a little bit. Because Greg
We have to get you on the recording and we can't hear you right back there.
Greg can't hear you anyway, so.
Well, first I want to thank y'all for the opportunity to come and ask questions. I appreciate that. Good. So we do not have an ICU at our facility yet. We had to hold ICU patients for more than a month. As a result of that, we had to buy additional respiratory equipment, hire respiratory therapists, and ICU nurses. Those were at a crisis rate, which was very high. I'm sure you've heard there was a nursing shortage because most nurses work in the corporate agency in the crisis facilities. Is that something that we can apply for to get ready for those?
Because you're not a county-owned hospital, you're owned independent, correct?
We are a nonprofit hospital district.
Okay, that would still be kind of an independent. So from there, you do, as mentioned, you would create a work plan discussing all the needs that you want to, build an actual ICU unit in your hospital. If it is buying the machines, if it's, buying supplies, assisting with getting those nurses, all of that, each part would be classified as a different expenditure category, but it is all allowable through ARPA. From there, you would create a work plan discussing that, detail the cost of each part and submit it to the county. And they would say, okay, we're gonna fund all of it, half of it, X amount, so on and so forth. But yes, that is allowable. We would just, need a detailed list of what you plan on doing.
Okay, great, thank you.
That's just committing it.
And I,
Yeah, we've had the bills, so we can get all that together. Thank you.
Y'all thinking we're looking at percentages. Like, what to say, 20% on healthcare, 50% high-speed internet. Whatever, water, radios.
10% on radios, 15%. That'd give us 10%.
Well, it's also got to show the towers.
Yeah.
Don knows and I know, fast. We don't have the best radio communications up on North End of town.
Tower and A is technically condemned. Tower and A is technically condemned right now.
Yeah.
It No, it's greatly needed, you know, for fire department, sheriff department.
I know we have the
This
list,
is, it just gives us an option.
I know we have the room and it's been already planned. The location at the new sheriff's department tower.
There is one there.
Should we at this point be looking at percentage wise, or we should just be looking at areas we'll spend money? And then,
I think look at both of those.
and then ask for, plans that they, pick, the different organizations that ask specific what they want in their plan, what to do with it, and we'd have to evaluate it, determine how much we're gonna spend where.
And I don't know
I
that.
think a good thing would be to try to maybe, I know broadband, everybody, y'all agree on that. I would kind of maybe get an idea of how much it costs to run the broadband per mile and the areas y'all would be interested in running the broadband.
And just see what we have left over too.
See what y'all would squeeze everything I want to do.
I'd like to look at all the options and to see what, we'll evaluate. Maybe some other things that justify the money more than the broadband.
What are the deadlines on this? When would people need to submit their, can we get funding, ideas? I mean, what are the deadlines we need to be looking at on all this?
Really, the only two main deadlines is you have to have it obligated by 2024 and released by the 2026. Yeah, so there's
So
no.
you guys can set deadlines and how you want to proceed.
Yeah, that's what we need to set a deadline to have people present their case for their money. We can evaluate it.
Sure.
They get everybody's request into one deal and then take a look at them.
What they requested and the justification for
Yes, Ms. Petty.
Okay.
So does that mean that if, for like indigent healthcare, if we allocate 25% or whatever, if we don't spend all of that funding, how can it be moved or can it be?
These aren't set in stone, so they can change it.
Okay, so, but we still would have until 2026 to remove
It has to
that
be-
money or spend that money?
No, that would definitely be by 2024. So if it's not obligated and you decide, oh, we can't use all this money, then that's gone. Yeah. So that's why it's highly recommended if you can find something to use it for in that particular project.
It has to be obligated by 2024, correct? Okay.
And indigent healthcare.
We got no time to get-
Yeah, all roads.
Not much.
No, yeah.
Well, maybe not one of those that will do one January 1 or March 1.
You're welcome. I do recommend y'all some path that y'all are thinking of, get a list of project ideas that y'all want. If y'all have estimates for those projects, that gives us, how much do we have left? And then y'all can start prioritizing, hey, this is the number one, this is an absolute must get done.
Well, one route I can tell you is absolutely it's gonna be Penny getting paid back. That's first. And the second is gonna be, first responder communications somewhat. And Kristen, ease up here and talk to Caleb about what she talked.
Yeah, we have conflicting
Yeah,
answers on that.
yeah, with Chief Kidd. And what Tina said, come on.
Well, I had a conversation with Chief Kidd with T-Downs last week over the radio communications and towers. And if we could not show a loss of revenue pertaining to that, then we did not qualify to be able to use that for that type of project.
Not from what you're going with, that you should be able to use it through public communications. So that would be the public health expenditures.
Well, when I leave here, I'm gonna call Chief Kidd.
Yeah, what's
Yeah.
interesting, because I got the information she did from another conference, and so I had asked her to review the statutes and show me where it says we can do it, just to make.
Yeah, there were certain things to be able to tie it back, to be able to cover it under this funding, and the different scenarios we discussed in the conversation, we said they would not be approved, so.
Well, and that's what your slide says, we have to tie it back to COVID or mitigate
Yeah.
future events, so.
Correct.
That's.
Yeah, if you can show if you're having an increase of calls due to COVID or during the COVID timeline, that would be allowed, because you're having increase of calls, you need more radio treatments. actual wear and tear on those radios, so that would be a way to tie it back to them, so that would be a lot of cost. We would just have to see, you know.
Where, Chief, you hear that?
I did.
I got.
Angela, I'll get with Chief Kidd and get,
I'm gonna make some phone calls.
even if I need to do some Zoom stuff.
We'll make some phone calls between us, see if we can.
Okay, well, let's put it this way, right now. Let's focus on first getting Penny some reimbursement. But she has real funds that were expended that are tied back to COVID. So we already know that's covered, it's gonna be. You can go with that until the cows come home, the cows are gonna win, okay? Now, the other side of it is on this public communication part. There is a real need right now. And then we're not by any means gonna spend $17 million on radios.
No.
You know, you might spend 10%, 1.7 million.
Yeah.
Roughly.
But you also got to put in the equation. We need towers also.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, the towers,
because we're not gonna be able to use radio if we don't have a tower.
but our radios are old, and we know
Yeah.
that. And every constable I know, every sheriff's deputy I know is, they're toting radios at the end of their life.
Yes.
Even the radio that Kristen gives me to use here, you know, whatever crisis we have going on, it's already at the end of its life.
Yes.
So those in the room that may know the answer to this question on a tower, how far does a tower communications stretch out from a tower? You know, how many towers do we really need in Liberty? 3,
I think you're looking at curvature of Earth, and that's gonna be 12 miles
12 miles?
for every tower location.
Depending on
But
how
depending
high.
upon the height.
Well,
Yeah.
it works on the repeater system.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so if you have 400-foot tower, then you
I
have
just think there's, I can pick the sheriff department based on the system that's on them all right now. In fact, when we put that system in Liberty County, Harris County implemented it. Liberty County piggybacking off that system of Harris County. I had to come into Liberty County, and each corner of this county, I had to make sure that I was able to speak to Harris County SO.
Is that the repeater from Ames or?
It didn't matter.
Oh, it didn't matter.
Okay,
Okay.
it made it, I had to come into this, in Liberty County, and every corner of Liberty County, I had to make sure that they were receiving my transmission. And we had some spots that it didn't, especially on the north end.
Davis Hill's about the
Northeast side.
Uh,
Northeast side is not.
Northeast side, yeah.
Well, let's look at those two items now. Because those are, I would say those are priority. And that'll give some time to get the other items that are under discussion, you know, especially with the hospital.
I think we ought to do that, I'm not lucky, but
I would also encourage Ames to look at their water
let's get an idea.
and, let us know also what you may need on y'all's water system.
Or
And
yes, sir, Judge.
Hello, gentlemen. May I interrupt for just a second? I figure I'd make this a clean break and get it done rather than sneaking around back there and fumbling. Can she get her machine, her recording machine? And then we'll be out of here.
She can't use shorthand.
Sir?
She can't use shorthand anymore.
can I join the conversation?
Well,
Sure.
No, I got it, thank you.
I think we're wrapping up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll give it-
Well,
Give us about 5 more minutes, I think we're done.
yeah, if that helps you.
well, I don't wanna,
No, really,
No, we're about finished.
Sure?
Yeah.
okay,
Give us 5 more minutes.
5 more minutes, we'll be on.
okay, I don't need to rush on. I'll be back in 15, how about that?
Okay.
Okay, all right. You got it, Danny?
Yes, sir.
All right, thank you.
All right. Okay. All righty then, so.
Judge,
Yes,
if you don't mind, I just had a question, because I get calls from multiple companies wanting to put towers up in my community. And so if you were to put, if the county were to take this money and build the infrastructure, whether it's broadband, fiber cable or towers, or who would own that infrastructure?
It depends. So for instance, Russ County wants nothing to do with owning broadband in particular. So they're having to, you know, they're gonna say, oh, we're gonna assist you with the cost, but you're gonna completely own it. That's part of their agreement that they want to go forward
makes
with.
sense.
But if they wish, if Russ County, for instance, or for y'all, if y'all wish to completely own that, y'all can.
Don't be one on it. The way we tell you no.
Yeah, so no, you can put that in y'all's, when y'all go to sign a contract with, whoever it is, if it is, Constat or whatever, you can put in that contract saying y'all will completely own this line, or whoever's gonna own the radio towers, anything like that. So y'all can't put that in y'all's contract, that, we do not want to own this.
So we live under, the way we tell me I can live it, Russ.
So just a thought here, I don't know, because just as I've had broadband companies, they offer me money if I let them have exclusives in a particular section.
Right.
I don't do that. AT&T's running it for me already, and they do a good job. And so, but there, I've had broadband, it comes to, hey, we'll run fiber, or we'll put towers up if you, and we'll give you a cut of the bill if you let us have an exclusive in a particular section, which we don't do, but I'm sure there would be an option for y'all to go to, Sprint, AT&T, whoever, and maybe get, instead of having to pay for everything with your grant money, is there an option to get them to co-op that cost if they can make a deal? I mean, because that, you're talking about spending a lot of money, millions of dollars on infrastructure, maybe you can find someone like AT&T or Sprint, someone that's looking on their long-term plan of building those same towers, or towers in those same locations, and or broadband in the same areas, but they're just not feasible for them to do it today because there's not enough hookups to make it.
Yeah, subscribers.
Right, yeah, so, but maybe they would eat half the cost or a portion of the cost to help.
That's worth looking into.
Yeah,
Okay.
and that is allowable, you would just have to, put out a request for bids, and they would have to, bid it out, so that we're saying about, hey, this is, the section that we are able to commit to for X amount of dollars, and then, there's stipulation like 20% or whatever number, they can put a stipulation like, okay, y'all would front up 20% of the cost or however much, so.
Okay, for expediency's sake, 3 things to look at today. Okay. One is the radio communication side, so we're pretty much set. We're gonna look at that. Reimbursement for Penny for indigent healthcare through code. And before you leave today, I want you to get with Krista, she's right in the back of the room. And y'all talk about that radio aspect too, because there was questions, discrepancies among the use, from TDM's version versus your version. I want to get that cleared up. And also speak to the hospital district ladies and see what we can help with them. And specifically give them some direction on what to write down. And we'll talk about their use. And then if you have time also, our friends from Manger here, but they're on board with us on the high-speed internet anyway, but still, y'all need to talk with her, Mr. Tran, or are you good right now? Or?
No, you gave me a lot of work.
You did? Okay. Okay. All right. But those little areas before you go, I'll get Chief David's leg irons and hold you back here. Okay. All right. That'll work. All right. Anybody else got anything today? Leon?
No, I think we're headed in the right direction. We just need to go our thumb, not do nothing.
Well, we've got a little time. Get some wiggle room.
It's an asset. It's gonna help us. All the way around.
Okay, thank you. Bruce, Greg, anything? No. All right, let's go to bed.